I know where there's some, right here in the hall, clerk.
No, Molly, I have
Hello, welcome to what for me will probably be a short video. It could be very long indeed. A viewer asked me to show how to restring the dial string for the Zenith 10H20 chassis, and I have one right here before me. This is my other one that I have. I just have a bare chassis, no cabinetry, no Cobra-matic or anything, just this chassis I'm slowly rebuilding. So I can demonstrate how to restring this particular radio. As you can see, the dial string that's the only, well, there are two pieces left. This piece and that piece. So anyway, I'd be happy to do that. What to say? Oh, this chassis has the dial plate removed because whoever had it at some previous time drilled these holes through the dial plate so that they could mount the tone control right to the chassis like this, which also involved drilling holes right through the plexiglass through this and onto some brackets so that this would all just stand up. So this is all removed. This dial plate is junk. This is junk too, unless I can find a replacement piece of plastic, which I might do someday. So anyway, these are going on the pile. So all we have here is the tuning condenser and its FM plungers, and the dial itself, the dial indicator. And to do this, you need to make sure that this turns really quite as easily as you can make it do. This one's pretty good. I've got it lubed up now. This I had to take out. It has a little keeper spring on it. You take the keeper off, slides out this way, clean up all the rust and corrosion so that it just flops back and forth. The tuning control itself is right here on the band switch. It's a sleeve that fits down over the band switch with a pulley, a wooden pulley, in this case, down here. If you want, I'll put a image of the dial cord drive, they call it, the way the cord is run on this radio. I'll put that up as a still, and you can take a screen cap of that if you choose to. So let's get in here a little closer and we'll see what it's like. The 10H20 actually takes two dial strings. There's a dial string that runs from the sleeve, the tuning sleeve, up around this large pulley to turn the capacitor back there and the FM slugs. And when this turns, another dial string here comes over here and moves the dial pointer back and forth. So there's a string that goes here on the outside, and then another string that goes here. And as you can see, this pulley and this pulley are the same size. So this one is a direct drive. This one is reduced. So you can get finer tuning. Regarding the string itself, there are over the years, people have used almost everything. This looks to me like it's the original string. It's about 1 mil thick, 1 millimeter in diameter. What you want is a string that doesn't stretch. If it stretches, the tuning gets sloppy and then starts slipping fairly quickly. So regular old white cotton string won't work. What will work is the original. Well, let me back up. Usually these are woven. This one is not. This one's actually turned like a regular string. But the replacement ones are usually woven because woven cord doesn't tend to stretch so badly as plain cotton string. But there are a number of varieties, number of sizes. People have used everything from fishing line to wire to whatever, rubber bands, whatever you can find that works. It's best to use genuine dial cord, which, as a matter of fact, pardon me, I don't have any. I have some, but it's way too big. What I did have lying around the house is this cord here. It's pretty stiff stuff. It doesn't feel like it'll slip much, but this is for beading a necklace or something like that. So you slip beads over it. It's a little bit bigger than the original cord, probably 1.2 mils, 1.3. But for demonstration purposes, we'll be using this because this is what I have. Okay. Let me reposition the camera and the chassis here. This is from above the chassis, looking down into behind is the tuning caps, and then this is the back of the larger of the two pulleys. Right down in here, there's a tab of metal here, and one on the opposite side over here. And those tabs are where you hook these small springs. There should be two of them for this particular setup, one for each of those tabs. And they're small springs with usually loops like this on one side or on both sides, or a loop and a completed circle on the other. This is where the two ends of the string will attach as it comes out of here and goes down and around the tuning sleeve. So keep that in mind, and I'll set this radio back up the other way. So according to the dial cord chart, the dial cord will be hooked to a spring, hooked to one of those tabs of metal, come through up here, through a slot right there, and then go around here, down here, around this 2.5 times and back up, and the other spring is hooked on, and it's tied to the tab on the other side. So that's the way it works. Now, in terms of tying knots, there are lots of ways to do a knot. The recommended one, and the hardest one for me to tie, is called a perfect knot or a perfection knot, used by fly fishermen to tie a fly to a line, I believe. I'll try one here. Let me get a little more room. The purpose of the perfect or perfection knot is to make a loop that won't slip. So the way it works is this, and you can find demonstrations and animations of doing this online that are probably clearer than what I'm going to show you, but here are the fundamentals. You make a loop, then you hold that with one hand and you make another loop, and then you bring the end over in between the two so that it just rests there. Then you take the second loop and push it back up through the first loop. Which isn't easy for me. And then just pull the whole thing tight. And now you've got a loop that won't slip. Now that's about 10 times bigger than it needs to be for this application, but that's the point. There's another called a trucker's hitch, I believe, that that will work probably as well. Cut this off and start on another one. And yet another one. There's another one. I don't even know what this is called. You just make a loop. You tie a knot in the double line. Fold the loop back through the knot hole. And pull the loop out. And that will hold till the cows come home. It's not as elegant, but gee, it works just fine. And the final one is one I've used when I've gotten frustrated trying to handle string. Is you loop this through the spring. I'll just loop this through the spring, and then you just tie a knot right here. And tie it again. And this will not hold unless you put a drop of super glue right there. Oops, missed it. Anyway, tie a couple of knots and then just drop some super glue in there, and that will make one that'll hold for this purpose. That's cheating, but I've done it. This is the one that's easiest for me to do. Just a little. Okay, focus. Anyway, that's the one that's easiest for me to do. This is the one the pros do. They will all work to one degree or another, so pick your weapon of choice. Okay, let's see if we can restring this. One thing you'll find, well, I find that helps me a lot, is having bits of masking tape available. Because just when you think you've made the final connection somewhere in this loop, the string will slide off the pulley or off this pulley, off this pulley or off this pulley, and you have to start over. That's really frustrating. So we have our two small springs. They go back here, one on this side and one on this side. So the way I start is I'll take my, and recall this is not real dial cord, but it's for demonstration purposes. I will, I will make a loop in the cord. I'm just going to make a simple one because I'm a simple person. And I can't stand making that perfect knot. It's too hard. Fly fishermen are probably going, hee hee hee. But that's my problem right there. Okay. Oop. Can't even make one of these. And you want the knot, the body of the knot, to be close to the end of the loop as possible. Otherwise, it'll come up behind here and be out actually on the surface of your pulley, which is just not a good thing. So that's not too bad. So there's one. And then you hook it through the spring as best you can. Like that. Almost like that. There, like that. And then, and I'm going to stop and turn this over again so we can see down in there a bit to show you what I'm doing. Okay, here's the back side of that pulley, and we're stringing the large one this time. And right there is the hook. And I'm going to hook this spring that's on the end of the string around that hook, if I'm lucky. So I'm going to be blocking the view here, but not much I can do about that, and do this too. There, so it's caught, as you can probably see. Now what I'll do, well, first I'll cut that excess off because we don't need all that. I should have done that before I put it on the spring, but I didn't. So I'll loop that right there and then take one of these pieces of tape and tape it down so that it doesn't come off. Once you're all done with this, you'll have two springs, and both of them will be about half tension. So I'll turn it back over and we'll do the front part. Now, you might recall that the instructions are to go 2.5 times around this shaft. So there's once, there's twice, and here's our other half. And this is going to go up, well, first of all, then I'll take a piece of this handy dandy tape, put it right there to keep the string from slipping off, and one more piece of handy dandy tape right there to hold it all in place. Now it won't fall off probably while I'm working on it. So I'll turn it back over and do the other side. Okay. Now you want to, well, first of all, you want to cut off what you don't need here. So I'll just cut that off right there. Set aside the rest. Now what we have to do is loop this string. The way I do it, again, there are many ways to do this. I'm sure this is just mine. There's an extra piece of string lying in there. Get it out of the way. What I do, and I should say at this point, this is where it always gets difficult for me. If you have an existing completed string, you know exactly how long to make it. If you're replacing one, or if there wasn't one in there in the first place, there's some guesswork involved in how long to make it. For me, there is. There might not be any guesswork for somebody else. But what this has to do, the string has to come around here, go around this corner right here, and then go attach to the spring about here, and the other end of the spring hooks to that clip right there. So what I've found for myself is, this is a bit of a trial and error process. I'll put the string through the end of the spring, and I'll kind of eyeball it. That looks too loose to me. So I'll say for the first approximation, we'll put it right there, and I'll just tie a simple knot in the line. By simple, I mean simple. Oop, yeah, right there, so that I have a knot on the spring, and that will give it tension. Then I need a pair of something long and skinny, like these guys. And I will grasp the end of the spring and then take the tape off so I can see, and grasp the wrong end of the spring. Now see that? It just popped right off without the handy dandy tape. Grasp this end of the spring. like that. Then run it down in there and tension the spring and hook it on the, if I can, hook it on the tab there. Okay, let's see how we did. Both springs are tensioned. This one is not as tight as it probably should be, which means this one needs to shorten up and the whole thing be adjusted. But we can take the tape off here and see if it works. And it works. So now when you think you've got it tensioned correctly, and I think this needs to be tightened a bit more, but I'm not going to do it because, as I said, this isn't really dial cord. And it needs to be replaced anyway. But what you could do is, if it's tensioned correctly and to fit your needs, you can just leave that simple knot right there and put a drop of super glue right there. That will bind the cord together and it won't slip again. As I said, that one's a little loose, but if I were doing this for reels, I would shorten the line that goes to this one, because this is the side that I can adjust. The other side is kind of fixed for knots, but that gives you the general idea of how to do it. And it works for the most part. There will be slippage. This should slip. If you hit the end of rotation on the tuning condenser, this should keep going. But it shouldn't slip during its path from one end to the other. So that's that one. This one is the identical process. The big difference on this radio is there's only one spring right here that holds both ends of the line. But the idea is the same. You attach your new string there, you run it through here, over to this pulley, do a turn, a full turn and a half, come back around the top through here and attach again. So I'll show you the path. I should just cut the old one out of there. I don't need it anymore. Well, sort of cut itself out. That looks like wire. That might have been wire core at one point, but that'll do for now. So the path is attached to the spring there. Run it over here, around this pulley 1.5 times, back across the top now, like this, back through there, and then attach to the same spring. And again, tensioning is important, because you don't want this one to be tight and this one to be loose, because your dial pointer will get off track, and you don't need that. And the tying situation is the same. Make a loop on one end. If you want to make a loop on both ends, if you get good at tying the perfect knot or the trucker's knot, whichever one it is, I forget. Please feel free to use those. They're both very functional knots. But that's it. That's how you restring the Zenith 10H20 Z in this case. And when my string that I have ordered comes in, I will restring it for real. But that's it for this one. Hope it helps. Good luck.